Aloha, sweet Maui people. My name is Christina, and I lived on the west side of Maui for 8 years in the early 2000s. I was there for Y2K in Lahaina. We all lost cell phone service for a while, and we were all freaking out. I was in the ABC store. I was there for 9/11, running boat trips for all the tourists who were stranding there and experienced all the sadness and later the paranoia we all experienced. I survived a wildfire 2 years ago in California. I lost my house and everything I owned and one of my jobs. Okay, it sounds like most of you guys have found shelter in some of the resort areas. Only 160 people left in the shelters. That is great. That's really the first step to pulling yourself together. By now, some of the shock has worn off, just maybe a bit, and I bet you're wondering, what the F do I do now? So now you want to start making phone calls to all the services you had at your house, like garbage, internet, cable, electricity, things like that. The first thing I want to address is what we call Firebrain. When the brain is in shock or trauma or survival mode, it's really difficult to comprehend the simplest things. I remember poring over my 50-page insurance policy 5 or 6 times, trying to wrap my head around what it was actually saying. It was like reading a foreign language. This happened with other things too, like navigating the SBA loan process, and I'll talk more about that later, maybe in the next video. I think I still have Firebrain. This next info is for the people who did not have insurance. FEMA will try to house you in some way for up to 1.5 years. They have said they have up to $37,000 to disperse to you over time. Obviously, that's not going to be enough to rebuild unless you qualify for an SBA loan or get into a lawsuit or raise money on GoFundMe. The help will end at some point in time, so I want you to be ready for that. The state may take over there. I don't know. If you did have insurance, there is a section in your policy called Additional Living Expenses, commonly known as ALE. If you find a place to rent somewhere, this part of your policy will pay your rent for up to 3 years, up to the amount that is listed in your policy. I had $32,000 in this section, and when I found the Ohana, the insurance cut me a check that paid my rent for a year. So it was like $18,000. Then I had $14,000 left for the next 2 years. There's 4 main parts of your insurance covering: A, dwelling coverage; B, personal property; C, other structures; and D, additional living expenses. There will be some additional coverages like for trees and shrubs, debris removal, building upgrades, things like that. Your insurance rep is going to be coming out to inspect your property so that they can create a damage report. Once that happens, a few months down the road, they will ask you to start making a list of everything you had in your house. This will be an excruciating process. It just adds insult to injury. I signed up for counseling at this time, but you have 3 years to do it, so there's no rush. It took me about 6 weeks to make the list, working between 4 and 6 hours a day. I used a template from United Policyholders that was on an Excel spreadsheet that made it so much easier. I'll leave the link to that down below. Make sure you talk to United Policyholders while they're over there. Get on their website, see what they have to offer at uphelp.org. There will be classes and seminars held to help you understand your policy. Go to those classes. You may be able to defer your mortgage payment if you had one. If your loan was owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac up to about 90 days, then you might be able to get an extension for another 90 days or perhaps even longer. But they will expect you to start paying that back after a certain amount of time. You'll have to make up the difference by paying a little bit extra every month. I lost one of my jobs after the fire. I worked on a boat on a local lake in the summer, and we were all laid off. I got on unemployment, and I used that time to handle my insurance claim because my rent was paid for. I had a little bit of income. There was a really good meeting they held at the Maui Ocean Center about employment and recovery over there. Watch that if you can. I'm going to leave the link down below. Really great leaders and speakers, ideas and discussions. I'm so impressed by everyone over there and how the community is coming together in such a healthy way. Sorry. They spoke about allowing some pop-up businesses in the Lahaina area. That is great. If you build it, the people will come. We did this in our town, and it was a great avenue for people who wanted to help or just get on their feet. These were also great gathering places for the locals to hang out and talk story. I really could not relate to anyone during this time except other fire victims. People who are not fire victims said the stupidest things to me, very insensitive. No one really knows what this is like unless you've been through it. Forgive them. They know not what they do. Okay, guys, enough info for one video. Once again, sending you love and aloha from California. I love you guys, and I'm thinking about you so heavy every day. I cry for you and your losses. I'm hoping tomorrow will be a better day. Love, love.